Welcome back to The Explainer. When you really stop and look around, have you ever wondered how we decode the invisible rules governing, well, absolutely everything? From the exact thickness of a tiny metal wire to the rhythmic beating of your own heart, nature isn't just winging it. It operates on an incredibly strict, pragmatic set of rules. Today, we're diving into the beautiful architecture of those rules. We're going to see how we measure the physical world with mind-blowing precision, and then how those exact same mechanical concepts apply perfectly to the biology inside of us.
Here's a quick roadmap of what we're covering today. First up, the physics of measurement. Second, we'll dive into meiosis and genetic variation. Third, we're looking at powering life through photosynthesis. And finally, we'll wrap up with biological transport systems. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the physics of measurement and how we quantify our world. Like I said, nature is basically a giant pragmatic rulebook, and physics gives us the exact mathematical tools to actually measure those rules. But to understand the universe, we first have to agree on how to measure it, right? So we split the physical world into two distinct categories. On the left side, you've got your fundamental quantities. These are the absolute basics of reality: length, mass, time. They can't be explained by anything else, they just are. But then on the right, you have derived quantities. These are built entirely on those fundamental ones. Like, you can't have velocity unless you combine length and time. Everything complex in the universe is just a mashup of these fundamental building blocks. Okay, this next part is just wildly cool. We all know what a meter is, obviously, but how do we define it so that literally every scientist on Earth is on the exact same page? We don't just use a wooden stick locked in a vault anymore. We define our basic unit of length by the universal speed of light. A meter is precisely the distance light travels in a vacuum in a tiny, tiny fraction of a second, 1 over 299 million and change. It's just a breathtaking example of how we've pinned down the mechanics of the universe to an absolute unmoving constant. So, zooming back into our everyday physical world, how do we actually measure tiny things? Enter the vernier caliper. It's this ingenious mechanical tool designed to measure internal and external distances with extreme accuracy. And the genius is honestly in its simplicity. You just place an object between the main jaws, read the fixed main scale, and then look at the sliding vernier scale to find the exact line that perfectly matches up. Add those two numbers together, and boom, you're using a mechanical magic trick to clearly measure fractions of a millimeter that your naked eye could never catch. Now, if you want to get really crazy with precision, you grab a micrometer screw gauge. This thing takes it to the next level. It amplifies microscopic distances into larger, readable ones just by measuring the rotation of a screw. You carefully turn the thimble until it grips the object and gives a little click. Take your main scale reading and then read the rotating thimble's scale, multiplying it by its least count, which is an insanely small 0.01 millimeters. Add them up, and you are literally measuring the thickness of a single human hair using nothing about mechanical engineering. Moving right along to Section 2, meiosis and genetic variation. Let's look at the precision of biology. Because, think about it, biology has its own incredibly strict mechanics. It builds right off these concepts of precision. What happens if the cellular machinery just breaks down? Like, what if a meiotic cycle goes missing entirely? Well, it's a disaster. Without meiosis, the number of chromosomes would double with each and every generation. That gives rise to abnormal growth, severe and dangerous changes in species characteristics, and it's ultimately fatal. Biological math has zero room for error. Those chromosomes have to divide perfectly. So comparing normal meiosis to meiotic errors really shows you what's at stake here. A perfectly normal meiotic cycle exchanges genes during crossing over, and that creates the genetic variation that literally drives evolution. But if that cellular machinery makes a rare error, the chromosomes fail to separate properly into the gametes. It's like a gear slipping in a finely tuned watch. The entire system gets thrown totally out of balance. Which brings us to the ultimate biological reset button: fertilization. And the mechanics of this are just mind-blowing. Think about the transport of the ovum. It's not just floating around. It is being actively propelled down the fallopian tube by the sweeping motions of tiny, hair-like structures called cilia. It's a highly coordinated, perilous journey. Meanwhile, you've got millions of sperm cells engaged in this epic, high-stakes mechanical race to reach it. And when they finally meet, boom, perfect biological addition. Two halves come together, and the exact diploid number of chromosomes is flawlessly restored for the next generation. Okay, Section 3. Powering life through photosynthesis. Welcome to nature's chemical factories. To keep all this biological machinery running, organisms obviously need fuel. And the word photosynthesis literally gives away the game mechanically. Photo means light, and synthesis means to prepare or build. It's this wildly efficient process where plants, algae, and some bacteria literally build chemical energy from scratch. They take super simple inorganic stuff like carbon dioxide and water, and by trapping light energy with chlorophyll, they manufacture glucose and oxygen. It is an intricate, life-sustaining assembly line. And this shows how that created energy actually moves around through oxidation and reduction, which is basically the fundamental loss and gain of electrons. But here is the truly wild part about the scale of this mechanic. When these organisms, absolutely packed with this synthesized chemical energy, get buried under immense pressure in the Earth's crust for millions of years, that stored energy turns into fossil fuels. So yeah, the gas in your car, it's literally ancient sunlight, captured by biological mechanics. And of course, we humans figured out how to hack this biological engine, right? We use fertilizers to pump essential elements, mainly nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, straight into the soil. It's a massive boost for plant growth, fruit yield, and even pest tolerance. We use inorganic fertilizers for a quick nutrient spike, since they're naturally occurring but super concentrated. And then we use organic fertilizers, which are complex and break down slowly, to sustain the soil long term. We're just fine-tuning nature's machinery. Which leads us to our final stop, Section 4, Biological Transport Systems, or the Logistics of Life. Because making energy is great, but it's completely useless if you can't move it to where it's needed. It's like a bustling city without any roads. Let's look at animals first. The circulatory system is the ultimate biological plumbing network. In an open circulatory system, the transport fluid just kind of washes freely through the body cavities, bathing the organs. But in a closed circulatory system, like the one we have, the fluid is strictly locked inside a massive, complex network of dedicated blood vessels. It is highly pressurized and incredibly efficient. Now, plants don't have a pumping heart, but their logistics network is just as fascinating. They use companion cells, which are absolutely stuffed with energy-producing mitochondria, to actively load sugar from the leaves right into the sieve tube cells. This creates this constant, steady flow of organic solutes traveling from the source, where the food is made, straight to the sink, where it's needed, like the roots. And the sheer genius here is that it powers itself. Because photosynthesis is churning out so much food, the leaves get a massive concentration of these organic solutes that actually creates a tremendous increase in suction. Plants are literally using the physical pressure gradient created by their own food to drive their circulation all the way down to the dirt. It is high-level fluid dynamics happening completely silently inside every single tree you walk past. So, stepping back and looking at the whole shebang, it's just absolutely awe-inspiring, isn't it? From the physical, satisfying click of a micrometer measuring a fraction of a hair, to the precise, sweeping transport of an ovum, down to the invisible, pressurized flow of sugars inside a plant stem, nature is an undeniable masterpiece of mechanics. The rules are literally everywhere, just waiting for us to figure them out. So, which system are you going to look at differently today? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and definitely keep exploring the incredible rules of our world.